Hello, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about Leonardo da Vinci, a high Renaissance master that I'm sure most everyone knows his name. He's a pretty popular one. I want to talk about three different pieces of his that he did. The first being the Madonna on the rocks, of the rocks, and it was done in between 1483 and 1490, so right at the end of the 15th century there, and it was a central panel in in a chapel, and so it depicts pretty clearly a pyramid configuration. So still sticking with these early Renaissance techniques. So we have Mary at the top, and then there's the baby Jesus and an angel and Saint John as an infant, forming this triangle there to bring your attention into the painting. The mood is one of tenderness. The light is caressing the forms. Mary has a really sweet and maternal look on her face, very loving. So Da Vinci was building on Masaccio's work with modeling of the form, the light and dark, the chiaroscuro, to create a better sense of three-dimensionality with the figures. So he's really playing with that in this painting and pushing it forward. He is what's really special about this painting is the way that the figures are unified. They feel like they're in this space and they're kind of interacting with each other. It kind of shows this invisible substance that surrounds things. That's who's curious about that, and being able to show that. There's a quote from him talking about how the artist paints, a person and paints his soul, and how the soul is the harder to capture in a person, which is really lovely. We also see his mastery in oil paints. Oil was used up in the northern Europe, or in early Renaissance, before this, and started to make its way into Italy, and Leonardo was one of the first to really get this medium and understand it and work it to, and have it do what he wants. So yeah, really, a really nice, important, start of the High Renaissance. Another piece I want to talk about is a drawing of his. It's of Mary and child, and with Saint Anne and the infant Saint John, and it's done in charcoal. So at this time, also paper is becoming more accessible and less expensive to use. So it allowed artists to really experiment and get to sketch. They could sketch their paintings before they were going to paint them. Really work out compositions. They're able to do studies on anatomy. I mean, we've got amazing studies from Michelangelo, and on anatomy, and then there's Leonardo's sketchbooks, which are brilliant, and there's he's a real Renaissance man with his interest in everything, military and zoology, cartography, geology, botany. I don't even think he called himself an artist first. I think when he was looking to move to Milan, he when he was requesting to move there, he didn't even list his many capabilities that he could help the government of Milan with as artists. So it's really interesting that we know him as that, and he wouldn't have really, it would have been an afterthought on his resume. But sorry, so a little tangent there. So yeah, this drawing that he did was really shows his style. These figures are, there's this glowing light again. The way that he's able to use the light and the darks to just these figures feel substantial and monumental, sculptural. They look, like representations of Roman copies of Greek statues. They really feel like they're in that space. Um, we yeah we I think that's all I want to say about that one. And then let's talk about the Mona Lisa. Why not, that little old painting that he did? So Mona Lisa is considered the world's most famous portrait, more so after its theft in 1911. So I think the story goes a guy was impersonating someone who worked at the museum, I think, and kind of just like snuck it under his coat and like walked out. It was like, um, not a lot of security in 1911, but he claimed that he was stealing it back for Italy. So it wound up in France because that's where Leonardo died, and he carried this painting with him everywhere he went. He never um, thought of it as finished. He was working on it up until the end, and so it wound up in France and it wound up in the Louvre. But so it's a pretty groundbreaking piece. I mean, it's not for nothing that it's famous. It's really um, in that time period, you would have paintings of religious themes, and then wealthy and prominent people and patrons commissioning art. But this was more. He was more interested, instead of doing a status or icon painting, in capturing a person's likeness, an individual's likeness through their personality and appearance, and really representing who that person was. Kind of like what I was saying with he had these ideas of there's capturing the person and their soul, so he was interested in that. Um, and then there's the in the Renaissance, a woman, wouldn't really be able to look a man in the eye, and here we have a woman, looking right out the viewer. I think her her eyes kind of even follow you just wherever you're walking around. But yeah, she's painted with the self assurance, and yeah, he really captures that. Um, yeah, maybe a little early feminist ideas. I don't know. I do know that he was an early adopter of vegetarianism, uh, and he there's stories that when he was walking through the market, if um, there was caged birds, he would buy them to set them free. So I don't know, maybe. And the background of the painting is mysterious. It's ambiguous. There's roads and bridges leading nowhere. I have this little theory that I think is funny, that if you like zoomed into the Mona Lisa, all of his paintings kind of live in that same world. Like if you look at Madonna on the Rocks, it kind of just looks like you know it's inside the Mona Lisa, and you pull out like the background and the smoky sfumato feeling that is in both of them. Um, yeah, the Mona Lisa really has got that smoky haze, and there's atmospheric perspective and chiaroscuro, and so these techniques that were starting to emerge in the early Renaissance are really being mastered in the High Renaissance, and we'll see that even further with Raphael and Michelangelo, and we'll talk about them. But so this is a longer short on Da Vinci, but I mean it's Da Vinci, so how could it not be? All right, thank you.